What is going on to all my movie fans out there, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Elliot, and this is MovieFiles. Today we are back discussing the new Darren Aronofsky drama by the name of The Well. Now, The Well premiered at the Venice Film Festival earlier this year, and it had mostly positive reviews and things coming out of the festival, such as maybe a Best Picture nomination, Best Lead Performance by a Male Actor, but there's also been a little bit of criticism in regards to the representation of our main character, Charlie. Got a chance to see the film last night. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts with you all and let you know by the end of this review if it's worth checking out. We'll be discussing that and so much more in today's spoiler-free review. But before we get into it, if you all haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell. That way you can stay up to date with all my daily movie reviews. You can also give your boy a follow on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. All those links can be found in the description of this very video. Which, speaking of this video, if you all enjoyed my movie review, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. Make sure you're sharing this review, but more importantly, sharing your opinion on this film once you've seen it. We're talking more than just the pros and the cons, but diving deeper into the direction, the screenplay this is based upon, the performances, the messages, the themes. Did you feel like it was offensive in the way that it handled its main character? Let's have those nuanced discussions in the comments below. So let's start off with my positives, and I want to talk about the production and the behind the camera angle and the aspects of this film. Starting off with the director and writer, we have Darren Aronofsky, and this film was written by Samuel D. Hunter, who Samuel D. Hunter actually wrote the screenplay based on his own play. This film is based on a play with the same name of The Well. And let's talk about Darren. Now, I'm 50-50 on Darren Aronofsky as a director. I've seen, out of his 8 films now, I've seen 5 of them, and he definitely has a pattern in a particular genre and focus on characters that he seems to really thrive upon, and I appreciate that about Darren, especially when it comes to this film. This is a film about broken people, and it's about broken hearts and how these characters have been heartbroken by who you would consider to be your closest people that you would know in your life, which is your loved one. So I think the way Darren and also the way that the screenplay is written really does show and reflect self-destruction and how people can sometimes feel helpless. And I think that also Darren does a good job of portraying different characters and also characters in this film, how they deal with obsession. You know, I think of films like Requiem of a Dream. I think of Black Swan. I think of The Wrestler and how he deals with characters that either dive into having a food addiction, having alcoholism, drugs, being addicted to greatness. So I think when Darren's at his best is when he focuses and puts a lens and shines a light on these character studies. And I thought he did a good job of kind of focusing on those elements in this film, but also appreciating the nuance of the things such as the score. Now we have Rob Simonson, who I thought did an excellent job of really enhancing the emotions throughout the film, especially when it came to Charlie. And when Charlie did certain things in the film, the score really kind of puts you in the mood, and also highlighting the production in regards to the set they're on. Now, this film is mostly, and when I say mostly, I mean like 98% of this film is set in one location, which is Charlie's apartment. And for some people, that may sound dull or boring, but for me, the one location metaphorically symbolizes, in my opinion, Charlie's state of isolation and this feeling of disattachment from life. And also, it really kind of creates this feeling of being locked in and also feeling uncomfortable and uneasy, which I think was very purposeful in the narrative and the story. So again, for those that don't like one locations, this might not be the film for you, but I really did appreciate how we did get the focus on what this apartment symbolized for our main character. But switching gears and kind of diving a little bit into the nuance of the themes and the narrative that we have in the film and how it played out. Like, for example, this idea that nobody can actually save you from your own self, who can sometimes be our own worst enemies, right? I think we can all relate to that there's times that we self-sabotage ourselves, whether it is diving into addictive behavior or making bad decisions, putting yourself first, which can affect not just yourself, but your family. So I like how the film focuses on that narrative, as well as how it highlights the message of not giving up on others, even though they might have given up on themselves or wanted to make even though they might have given up on themselves, they still want to make a difference in someone's life, which is an important theme that I want to highlight now. And this is just something from a life perspective. you have to work on yourself first before you can work on others, right? And I really appreciate how the film tackles that narrative. And there's many different characters like Charlie, like Ellie, like Liz and this character. There's so many characters that they have their own issues, but they'll rather focus on someone else's issues, and not in like a mean-hearted way, but it's like you got to help yourself before you can help someone else entirely, right? So I kind of like how the film tackles that, as well as giving those who made a change in their past, or those that have made a bad decision in their past, but they have made the efforts to make a change in their life, and giving them a second chance is something I really appreciated. And also how the film handles and balances the empathy and compassion for someone versus feeling bad or enabling them, and how being honest matters and saying I'm sorry, and sometimes how our character Charlie says I'm sorry, and how it has just more than just saying he's sorry for something that he did for Liz, who we'll talk about these characters here in a second, but it's more than just I'm saying sorry in that moment. It has more layers to it. So there's just so many different layers, and again, the nuances in these themes that I really come to appreciate after seeing this film. But let's pivot over and talk about these performances. And I want to start off by talking about the supporting cast, starting off with Chau, who plays Liz, who is a nurse and is the best friend of Charlie and takes care of him. She was fantastic in this film. When you hear her story and you get her perspective, you really come to appreciate the character. But in the same vein, you can also look at the Liz character as an enabler in helping Charlie get the food, get chicken, get meatball sandwiches, get pizza, even though he's on the brink of death. And we'll talk about Charlie and a little bit about the story in a second. But I thought that she did such a great job of having that empathy, having that compassion, but at the same time having a character flaw and enabling Charlie. And also, again, when you hear about her story, it's very tragic, it's very heartbreaking, and I thought that she did such a great job of bringing so much to this role, and she added so much levity to the film as well. She has some of the more lighter moments in the film, and not that this film is a slapstick comedy, it's a very heavy drama, but I like how Liz did bring some levity, brought some of the lighter jokes to some of the moments of the film that I definitely appreciate. So I thought she was fantastic. Also, I want to talk about Sadie Sink, who plays Ellie, who's Charlie's daughter, who, I'll be honest with you all, I'm kind of split on the character that she plays Ellie, both positively and negatively. And the reason I say that is because her role is very tricky in this film. She's tasked with being very angry and being mad, and she has her reasons of doing so, but at the same time, the film really kind of only focuses on that element of her character traits, which unfortunately kind of makes her one note, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I appreciated what Sadie brought to this role, and I'm a big Sadie Sink fan. I'm a Stranger Things fan. Max was like phenomenal in season 4, but I really like her as an actress, and I really thought that she did a good job of really helping us understand her character and her position, but also capturing the essence of anger and sadness, and also being abandoned by a parent. So again, we're going to get into some of the criticism a little bit later, but I do appreciate what Sadie was able to bring to this character, who on paper was kind of one note. But now we got to talk about the man who got from what I understand, a 6 to 7 minute round of applause when they showed this at TIFF. I'm talking about Mr. Brendan Fraser. He plays our main character, Charlie. And when you meet Charlie very early on in the film, he's an online professor who teaches English courses online, and he never turns on his camera. He never allows his students to see him because he doesn't want his students to see who he is. And immediately you understand who Charlie is. And oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to Brendan Fraser, there's just so much I can praise about his performance. The way he is his gentle approach to the role, the way that you feel this tenderness to him, the way that he able is to interact with the other characters, the commitment to the role, the physical nature of what he went through to bring this character to life in regards to behind the scenes, reading up on the film. He studied for months with a dancing instructor to be able to figure out how a character with this excessive weight will be able to move around and navigate their own home. So the commitment's there, the way he conveys his emotions through his eyes, and the way he delivers his lines. I mean, I can go on and on, but at the end of the day, I think it boils down to it's his award to lose, and I'm referring to the Oscars, man. He gives a phenomenal performance, and I definitely think he will get that, not only nomination, I think that's a lock, but I also think that he's going to win. What a performance by Brendan Fraser. I think it's a once-in-a-lifetime type of performance. I've seen a good amount of his films, of his filmography, and I know some people like, it's the Renaissance, he's coming back. But I've been following him for the last few years, watching Doom Patrol and other TV performances, so I've always knew that he had it in him, but I thought that this was just a performance of a lifetime, and I thought that he will get that nomination. But this brings me to a particular point in the video that I want to have a discussion, and when it comes to, number one, the title, which is a double entendre within itself, because it does have a meaning. When you see the film, you understand the title of The Well, that it's a particular poem that is very connected to our characters, and particularly Charlie and his daughter and the relationship they have in this film. But also, from out of context, when you see the title, you just assume that it's referring to his size, him being a whale, him, being viewed as someone that's large like a whale. But again, there's more nuance to that. But let's have the discussion about the obesity of the film, of this character, and this isn't necessarily a negative or a positive. This is just more or less a discussion. So let's talk about it. Now, as I've gotten older as an individual, and I've come to appreciate and pay attention to things within media and cinema, and as that being said, I've become a huge advocate of representation on screen, on media, and particularly being a black man in America, and how I want my stories to be told in a certain light, right? So I can appreciate that angle, especially, like I said, being older, of why it is important to be represented on screen and what it can mean for not just the moment, but for future generations ahead. So relating that to the film and knowing that Charlie is a character who does have obesity, and Brendan Fraser himself had to put on some weight for the role, but also needed to wear makeup and was fitted for prosthetics that weighed him up to 300 plus pounds. And ultimately I believe the character was like over 600 pounds. But the question becomes, okay, is this one of those situations where they pick the best person for the role, or did they even audition someone that didn't have to put on those prosthetics, that already has the lifestyle and can relate to something on the pages and brings that authenticity to the role? So I'm very curious on how you all feel about that position. Again, no right or wrong answers, but that conversation about, was the right person picked for the role, or was there someone else? Did the film writers, did the film creators give someone an opportunity that lives this lifestyle, that could bring that authenticity to the film? I'm very curious on how you all feel about that. But then it brings us to the conversation, or maybe debate, about how the film portrays Charlie as someone who's knocking on death's door. Now, without giving too much away from the film, it's when you see the trailer and read the synopsis, it's Charlie. He is at the point of his life now where he is extremely obese, that it's affecting him physically, and he's literally on the last week of his life, and he's trying to rekindle a relationship with his daughter. So it's within that synopsis, and within that story there of Charlie knocking on death's door, because he eats a lot, excessively, and he refuses to go to the hospital, how at that point he's simply just giving up. And again, the question is, how does someone that might relate to that, how do they feel about the portrayal of what the film is saying about someone that has obesity, right? And now get into how I personally feel about it. Now, I think that this is just one individual story. I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all type of narrative. But again, there are some people, and it's not to take anything away from someone, that might feel offended by how this film portrays someone that has obesity. And it goes back to the conversation representation topic of how people who do have obesity feel about the way their story is being portrayed, that it is just a same song and dance. Someone that's obese is at the brink of death. They're gonna die. They can't control what they eat. They're destroying other people's lives. And it is just like, that's all we see in the media. There's other sides to stories. And like I said, as a black man, there's more than just the hood movies, slavery movies, drug movies. There's more to our story, right? So I can completely understand that narrative. And in particularly doing some research and looking online and the different conversations that I found in regards to the criticism that the film has so far about the casting, as well as how the film, some people feel it was a mockery of obese people. For example, as you all can see on the screen now from an NPR article, they had some opinions. They talked to one individual by the name of Aubrey Gordon, who's an author and co-host of a podcast, and her podcast focuses on health and things of that nature. But as you all can see on the screen now, this is her opinion on how she felt about the film. And here's another example from a Broadway actress of how they felt about the portrayal of the film. Also, I found a YouTuber, and I'm going to put their link in the description of this video. As you all can see, the title of the video was A Fat Person's Thoughts on a Whale. Now, I still have to finish the video, but I watched halfway through the video, and pretty much a YouTuber is saying that from her point of view, and she didn't see the film at this point, but she's mostly referring to the play and how she felt the play was a misrepresentation of how she feels about people that have obesity. So it's a nuanced conversation. We're not going to figure it out by the end of this review here, but it's just a conversation I want to kind of bring to the table. I'm very curious on when the public sees the film, how they're going to feel about that. And again, there's no right or wrong answers. It's just it's a discussion, man. And this is what I love about films. This is what I love about this channel in particular, and community of people that hopefully you all feel safe and can share your opinions on this subject matter. So I thought it was important to have this conversation. I appreciate you guys listening to me and all that good stuff. So with that being said, we're going to get back into the actual film, and I want to pivot over to the criticisms that I have for the movie. And one thing that definitely comes to mind, not knowing at first that this film was based on a play, then after seeing the credits, it all clicked to me and it all kind of made sense, because this is where one of my criticisms lie, especially when we come to a certain point in the film. In the second half of the film, the movie has a particular scene involving Mary, who's Charlie's ex-wife, and I found that scene to feel almost separate from anything else in the film, because it literally felt like I was watching a play, which isn't like a bad thing, but again, it's a tonal thing when you're like, we're watching a movie and then you get into this scene here where the husband and the ex-wife are having a conversation about how things played out, how things are going to play out. There's a particular plot that gets revealed in regards to how they're going to handle their daughter moving forward. And it literally, like I said, it just felt out of place. And I hate to point out the actress that played Mary, but she didn't fill the scene out right. The chemistry wasn't there to me. I felt that character stood out like a sore thumb. So that's definitely a scene to me that just kind of felt out of place and just felt like I was watching a play. And it felt like a tonal shift from the rest of the film, which also brings me back to Ellie. Now, I mentioned earlier how I felt like she was kind of one note and just too on the nose with her attitude and how she approached the situation. And I felt like the character was just so one-sided, and we didn't get to see anything else from the character until we get to like the final moments of the film. So I thought there was a missed opportunity to kind of explore more of the character Ellie, because again, I applaud Sadie, what she was able to bring to the role, but I felt like it was a disservice to not really allow her to have more involvement into her personality within the film. So this brings me to another character that I didn't mention earlier, but there is a character played by Simpkins who plays Thomas, who is very religious, and I felt like that particular character in that plot felt incomplete. Now, when the film, the way that they wrap up that plot felt rushed and didn't feel earned, but also too, again, knowing this is a play, I don't know how important Thomas is to the play, because obviously if it's an important character in the play, and obviously the person that wrote the play wrote this film, they're going to put the character in the movie, but it just didn't feel organic to the story. And also, this brings me back to Darren Aronofsky and knowing that his two previous films, one being Mother and the one before that was Noah, he definitely has his opinions on religion, and I feel like sometimes he reflects that into his art, and I feel like that was like something that he, I don't want to say shoehorn or force, because again, it's based on a play, but it didn't feel natural to the story, the whole Thomas angle, and it was really one of the weakest elements of the film. But lastly, getting to the ending without spoiling the ending, it has a strong effect. It's very powerful and painful at the same time, but the last scene to me just didn't hit the way that I wanted it to in regards to the emotional conclusion to the story. So again, it's a very, very interesting ending, and again, if you know Darren Aronofsky, he has some very interesting ways that he ends his film. So before we get into my overall thoughts, before I give you all my score for the film, if you stuck around to this point in the review, I really appreciate you all. Before we wrap this thing up, just a reminder to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Overall, I can appreciate the nuances that this film brings to the table and the levels of it expressing what heartbreak looks like through these characters' perspective, and the disconnect between them, and how it created this massive misunderstanding which caused a lot of tension. Now, I cannot praise enough the performance by Brendan Fraser, who gives a performance of a lifetime, and I really think that he not only touched on beautiful, heartfelt moments, but also gave us some very haunting moments at the same time. time, and I thought he was fantastic. Honestly, I don't believe it's a film for everyone because of the representation, or maybe lack of for some people, but I do believe overall it's a well-made film. It does have some shortcomings. It has some underdeveloped themes and characters, but overall I'm gonna give this film a solid 4 out of 5 from me, and that's just my opinion on the matter. I want to know yours in the comments. I'm reviewing this about 2 weeks before the film releases, so I got to figure out what the embargo is. But once you've seen this film, we got to talk about it. Let me know your pros and your cons, thoughts on the direction, the characters, the relationships, the nuances you all took away, the themes you took away. But let's have that conversation about the representation. How did you all feel about it? Let's talk about Oscar nominations and everything in between. If you're still here watching this video, I can't thank you enough. I appreciate you, and I do have a message for you all. Something I took away from this film: take care of yourself, and also check on your family, check on your loved ones, check on your friends. Mental health is very important, y'all. So hope you all are staying safe. Hope you all are doing well. If you ever need someone to talk to, your boy from MovieFiles, Elliot, is here. So again, thank you so much for watching this review. Just again, a friendly reminder to like, share, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell. Hope you all enjoyed today's commentary. As you can see on the screen now, come and join the community. Check out my other reviews from this year. Check out my most recent review, and we'll catch you all in the next breakdown.